Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are now listening to Rob and Rat's World of Wonder podcast. So sit back, relax, and prepare your ears as they take you on a journey of all things weird and wonderful.
Hello and welcome to the Rob Rat podcast. I am Rob.
I am Rats, and that was our voiceover artist Mick. I just like to.
You like to introduce him, yeah. Well,
he's a part of the show too.
He is a part of the show. Thanks for being a part of the show, Mick. Well, so if you're first time listening to the show, it's the World of Wonder series where we look at things that are weird and wonderful from around the world, generally consisting of kind of interviews with kind of people from different parts of the world who have interesting stories to share with us.
Yeah. And you can follow us on Instagram at Rob Rat Podcast, Facebook Rob and Rats Wow Podcast, Twitter Rob and Rats World of Wonder, and
Instagram.
I said Instagram.
That's the only one I know. I was going to do it.
Yeah.
So on Instagram, the Rob Rat Podcast.
Yeah. So today's episode is about exorcism and exorcists. Yeah, we're going to talk a bit about that after the news.
Rob and Rat's Weird and Wonderful News.
So this is the news.
The news.
And the idea of this news segment is just to kind of bring you a little bit of a break from the mundane news that you normally get on the radio and TV. Just something for your ears to listen to.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
If you're driving in the car or lying in bed, have a listen.
Use your ears.
Yeah.
Close your eyes, open your ears, and open your mind.
Just say the bloody news.
So, Newfoundland and Labrador are an area kind of in Canada, right? And it's actually, they've got really interesting...
I've heard of Newfoundland before.
Yeah, so Labrador is also an area over in that direction as well. And it's I think they're like side by side. And that's where you get Labradors from, I presume. That's nothing to do with this news story, but that's where you get Labradors from. But if you've ever heard how those people speak...
Newfoundland,
yeah. No, that's more Nordic, isn't it?
Oh, sorry.
They got nearly like Irish accents over there.
Oh, right.
Because loads of people left Ireland years ago during like famine times and everything, and they went and landed there. So it's a very strange accent. If you're at home and you're doing nothing after you listen to this, I'd advise you go on YouTube and just Google, not Google, but YouTube, like a Newfoundland Irish accent. It's quite hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that story is just the story that I'm talking about takes place there, right? So there is a town in Newfoundland close to Labrador, and the town is called Dildo. Dildo, okay. Right? And the TV host Jimmy Kimmel has recently taken a bit of an interest in this town, and he's paid for them to have like a Hollywood-style sign. Yeah. So it says Dildo, big in white letters. And Steven's just on his phone over there. But basically, anyway, so what they've done is set up this big, massive sign for the town, and Jimmy Kimmel even like ran as mayor for a joke and everything. But the residents have been getting quite upset recently because like a porn website has like started to try and use the sign to kind of like associate. They understand their town is called Dildo, but they don't want to be associated with sex toys, right? And now they're having issues with loads of young people and stuff. People are arriving to the town
taking
selfies with dildos in their hands. So there's people like with all these sex toys standing in front of the sign.
Yeah.
And the people,
I suppose, if you're out walking the kids or whatever, walking your dog and the kids, walking
the kids for a walk.
Well, that's not. But I know, and you see loads of people waving dildos and taking pictures.
Yeah, well, they just said that they don't want their town to be associated with selling sex toys. So So there's been an adult toy company called Our Pleasure, and they have been posting a lot of videos from the town, and they're trying to in front of the sign and just they're using the town as a kind of a way to promote their stuff. So the people of the town are a bit upset, and they said like there's nothing sexual about the town. It just happens to be called Dildo.
Okay.
And
they're all a bunch of prudes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They said that they're not, and they like to be fairly open about stuff, and they don't feel that it's a taboo to talk about sex and stuff in the town, but they don't feel the need for adult toy companies to be coming there and using their town as a...
Do you remember do you remember the TV show Jackass, obviously?
I do, yeah.
But in Jackass, Johnny Knoxville in one of the episodes went to a town called Uranus.
Uranus.
Myanus. The town was called Myanus. And I was great just interviewing people and going, have you got a school here in Myanus?
So you go to school in Myanus?
Yeah. Is there a fire station in Myanus?
I do. That was, I think, early Jackass, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good, very good.
So that was my news segment. Have you got anything better than that? Because
I have
poor enough story, but...
I enjoyed it. There you go. I laughed.
Well, there you go.
Social media influencers have been swimming in a toxic dump lake for the perfect picture. There is a lake in the Siberian city of Novosibirsk. Novosobrik.
I love this because you bring the weirdest pronunciations and then try to...
I can never pronounce
Good,
them.
give it a go.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try it again. There's a Siberian lake. There's a lake in
Siberia somewhere.
Yeah, in the city of Novosibirsk. Just go with that.
Yeah, sure.
About 1750 miles east of
1750 miles.
1750 miles.
1,750 miles. Yeah.
East of Moscow, Russia. Okay, the lake is nicknamed the Siberian Maldives, and the people are flocking there to take photos. Popular among newlyweds and Instagram influencers.
It's a difficult one to say.
It's a tongue twister.
It really is. Yeah.
However, the reason the lake is so beautifully blue is because of a chemical reaction due to toxic waste elements from a local power station.
So it's nuclear water.
It is basically nuclear water, and the Russian power plant that owns the lake is urging people to stop swimming, stop swimming in the lake in pursuit of that perfect
What
picture.
is wrong with people?
It looks really lovely and blue, but it's actually due to chemicals in the water.
It just shows you what Instagram and stuff have done for people in pursuit of the best picture.
Yeah, I mean we've done some crazy stuff for pictures
Yeah.
No. We haven't really.
No. But so you're risking your life. You're getting in there with into radioactive water.
But you don't know what's in the
picture.
water, and it's private property owned by the local power plant.
No, by the local nuclear power plant.
Yeah. Should we get in for a photo? It looks like we're in.
And it's really blue, isn't it?
It's very blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Might even share a picture on our social media.
We might do. Yeah.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got any more news?
That was my news. That was the news.
That was the news.
Okay, so that was the news.
That was the news, yeah.
Okay, so this episode is called Exorcist or Exorcism, whatever you want to call it. And we're just going to talk about demonic possession and exorcism. And later on, we'll be talking to Father Gary Thomas, and it's good because it's not easy to get an exorcist to talk to. Father Gary Thomas is one of the leading exorcists in the US. And there was a movie, I don't know if you remember, Robert, called The Rite.
I do.
The Rite. It was
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. It was a horror movie, basically, and it's based on Father Gary Thomas's life.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, I haven't seen the film, but I've heard of the film.
I remember the film when I worked in the cinema. It came out then. It's a horror on exorcism. It did quite well, I think, and it's kind of loosely based on Father Gary Thomas's story, and. So we'll just talk a bit about exorcism. What is it? Exorcism is...
You answered your own question. So what is it? I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'm telling you, though.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. 'Cause I presume exorcism for me is like there's a ghost or something a demon that's taken over someone's body and you need to drive it out.
Yeah. Well, it's the religious belief. It's the spiritual practice of evading demons or spiritual entities from a person or an area believed to be possessed. Yeah, that's basically it. Depending on the exorcist, this may be done by causing the entity, asking the entity to swear an oath, performing a ritual, or commanding it to depart in the name of a higher power.
I always think of, in the film Exorcist.
The Exorcist, yeah.
The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah, the power of Christ compels it.
The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah, I think that's really when the exorcism and possession came into the public. That movie came out in 1973.
Did it really? Yeah.
Yeah, 1973. The movie The Exorcist. It's one of the most famous and profitable horror movies ever made. It's loosely based on a true story.
Is it?
It is loosely.
Very loosely.
Well, it's about basically a young girl starts acting odd, speaking in tongue, and her mother seeks help, only to hit a dead end. However, a local priest thinks the girl is possessed by a demon. Yeah, but Exorcist...
Is it Gabriel Byrne? Is that?
I don't know who plays it. I don't know who.
I know he's in something to do with it. It's probably a bit early for him, isn't it? 73.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But throughout history, there's different things like
how far? When? Is this going on for years?
It dates back years and years, to Mystopian times. I can't even tell you when that was. But virtually every religious and cultural tradition worldwide believed that possession. Oh, sorry, I've completely lost myself there. I've lost the run of myself.
You're all right.
But look, in ancient times, it was believed that all forms of sickness came from spirits entering the person and attaching to a person. So basically, if anyone was sick, in ancient times, they believed the person was possessed in some form.
You sneezed, you're possessed.
Yeah. In Christianity, there are many references to Jesus performing exorcisms, and the ability to cast out evil spirits was a sign of a true disciple.
It's not something you hear. I don't go to church now, right?
Yeah.
When I was younger, you had to go and go to school and stuff like that. But I don't really remember
Yeah, I was kept
them
kind
being
of,
on about
yeah,
that. I probably would have
yeah.
been listening to it more
No,
if you said,
know, exactly,
you know what I mean?
about people being possessed and stuff. And even kind of Father Gary says in the interview later, you'd hear just in the kind of the first half, he said it was kind of a very secretive thing, even in the Catholic Church. Like there wasn't. A lot of priests didn't know who the exorcist was until things changed. Like John Paul, when he became JP, he wanted an exorcist in every area or whatever it was. You know what I mean? In the Middle Ages. Saw a revival of the ancient superstition and demonology. Mental illness was seen as a result of evil possession. The barbaric treatment of mental illnesses was primarily left to clergy and exorcists. Patients were subject to awful pain and stuff. Some people who were mentally ill,
Yeah, but when you say they were subject to pain, you mean to get the
demon
drive it out.
Yeah. Like they'd scorch them and all sorts of stuff. Jesus. It was kind of madness, really.
They don't do it like that anymore, do they?
Well, now it's kind of done through the praying and casting.
Just ask them, on pray them out.
Yeah. So look, do you want to listen to a bit of the interview and see how it gets on?
No.
All right. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course I do.
That concludes this episode.
And who is this?
We're going to talk to Father Gary Thomas. He's one of the leading exorcists in America. As I said, he's the movie was based on him.
He's a Catholic priest.
Yeah. So look, a guy called Matt Bigelow is an American journalist in Rome who wrote a book based on Father Gary's story. The book was called The Making of a Modern Exorcist. It was published in 2009, and the movie is based on the journalist Matt Bigelow's book. Matt Bigelow being an American journalist. So look, we'll go to Father Gary and listen to the interview, and then we'll check back before we finish the interview.
Excellent.
Hello, Father.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Hi, how are things?
Well, they're fine, thank you. We're just kind of getting our day going here.
I suppose I just wanted to ask a few things just in terms of possession and stuff like that. I know the movie The Rite was kind of loosely based on your own story. Yeah. And I suppose a few questions I have is how does someone identify demonic possession as opposed to someone who may have mental health issues?
Well, there are 6 classic signs. So, and they don't all necessarily show up immediately. So what happens is, just to give you a little background, when someone contacts myself or my team, and the team does all the initial interviews, and we would ask a lot of questions about the person's background, their habits, their religious practices or lack thereof, etc. Because we're always listening for doorways, and what I mean by that is, is there something that may someone else have done to them that somehow a doorway was opened and the entrance or the foothold of the demonic became reality. So the 6 classic signs, and I'll explain them to you. There's an aversion to the sacred. So, and this would happen very classically with Catholics. A Catholic walks into a Catholic church and they begin to feel sick, immediately.
Yeah.
Or they feel something, a sense of, and it varies from person to person. So sometimes it can be, I feel like a force is pushing me out of here. Or I feel fear. Or something terrible has just overcome me. Or during the celebration of Mass, at the consecration in particular, I feel nauseated for no apparent reason. Or when I receive the Eucharist, it burns as I'm consuming it, as I'm swallowing it. Or if I bless myself with holy water, it burns.
And have people had that experience where they have been...
Oh yeah. I mean, everything I'm telling you are experiences I've personally listened to. And in one case, where we were working with a person who was possessed, it came time for the end of the session, and we thought maybe by receiving Holy Communion this would help him. He had the hardest time receiving it because it emitted such a terrible, terrible smell. He had a hard time putting it in his mouth. He did, and he did consume it. But, I mean, I saw that with my own 2 eyes.
Yeah.
So an aversion to the sacred would be one. Another would be being able to have knowledge of things that you wouldn't normally know about. We call knowledge of hidden things. Now, very often, the demon would be the the demon would be the entity that would be speaking through the person and saying things about the team, for example, or during a performance of an exorcism or a deliverance, which would be a minor exorcism. The person possesses inordinate strength they don't normally have. Or speaking, they would be speaking in a language they have no competency in.
Yeah, I've read about certain situations where, like that, yeah, people have speaking, and it's kind of a lot of the times it tends to be like Latin, fluent in Latin.
Yes, it can be Latin. Sometimes it's Spanish. It could be the culture of the person, but they have no competency in speaking it. So we've had people speaking Korean who can't speak Korean, or people speaking Spanish, or people speaking Latin, or sometimes Russian, or sometimes another. It's a language, but you don't really know what it is, but it's not just babble.
Kind of speaking in tongues, they would.
Almost like that, yes. Another sign, the last sign would be where the person's limbs are completely out of control, and their eyes are rolling, and the rolling of the eyes is more of an aversion to the sacred, but the person's features, their facial features, will begin to distort. Their limbs and their arms will literally they'll be out of control. Now, that might be somebody who has epilepsy? Well, you have to check those things out.
Yeah.
So, like, we have a team. I have a team of professionals. I have a medical doctor. I have clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, all practicing Catholics, all who believe in the existence of Satan. Then I have a prayer team that's with me at every session.
Yeah.
And so we don't just launch into an exorcism. We basically listen to their story.
You need to diagnose first whether it is or isn't.
Absolutely, and it's not always done in one session. I mean, the diagnosis doesn't always happen in one session, and I can tell you that the deliverance doesn't free the person. It rarely does it free the person in one session.
Yeah. Also, okay, so it's rare that the person actually be free from whatever demon is possessing them in one go.
If there was really something of a preternatural or an intelligent evil presence there, yeah.
And like, you know, when in terms of like we said about someone speaking Latin or different languages, have you ever witnessed like, you know, I suppose is this something that's dramatized in the movies? Have you witnessed like maybe perhaps a woman speaking in a deep demonic voice, or is that something that's dramatized?
Yes. Oh yeah. No. That's happened. That doesn't happen every time, but yeah, that has happened where. And they won't, you know, you never want to engage a demon in a conversation. But yeah, sometimes you'll get a few words. She's mine. You can't have her. You can't do anything about this. You have no power. It'd be more like mocking kinds of comments. But yeah, there's been times when the demon, or I'll say, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, you know, what is your name? And they'll give you their names with great resistance, but they have to, because I am the legal authority, and demons are very legalistic.
Do you remember some of the demons' names you've been given?
Well, yeah, I mean, Beelzebub is one of the more classic ones, or Lucifer, or Ammonius. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of times there'll be names that are attributed to the false gods of certain pagan civilizations. The reason I know that is because when names come up, which I can't recall in the moment, people on the team will immediately go to their iPhones
and look them up and research.
And we'll find out they're the sex god of the Mayan religion, or the Aztec religion, or sometimes there's gods, and this is very true. There's gods attached to Hinduism, or other pagan religions. Sometimes they can be. Sometimes they're Bible names like Asmodeus and Baal, Beelzebub. Those are classic. Sometimes they could be related to a particular, maybe a sexual perversion, such as the demon of rape, or the demon of incest, things like that.
Okay.
So, but some of them are biblical.
Okay, and like, I suppose I'm curious, like, for the likes of yourself, Father, when you were a priest for 22 years, before you were sent to train as an exorcist.
Right.
Like, how did you feel when you were going to do that training? Like, was it something that you were afraid to do? You know what I mean? Obviously, you would have seen the movie and things what was your perception of exorcism, and were you frightened?
No. It has to be a grace. When I sort of volunteered, and what happened was when John Paul II issued a mandate in 2004, requiring every bishop in the world to train an exorcist, to select a priest and train them to be an exorcist. Not all the bishops immediately jumped to it, but in 2005, our bishop, who happens to be from Ireland, he just retired, Patrick J. McGraw, he decided to appoint an exorcist. We had them in the past, but they were always secret. And the one that we did have had died like 15 years before, but we never even knew who he was until he told me.
Yeah.
So, and I just simply spoke up and said, I could do that. I could be the exorcist. I believe in the personification of evil. But I did not have honestly, I had no envision of what that would mean.
Yeah.
And so I was getting ready to go to Rome on sabbatical, which is what the movie's based on.
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah. So the bishop said, I'm appointing you exorcist. By the way, there's a course you can take while you're on sabbatical in Rome, which I did take at the Aversion Apostolorum, which is all in the movie. That's all accurate. So, and then because I was taking this course, there was a couple of other people there who were Americans. Everybody else in the class were either African nuns or Italian priests. The guy who wrote the book lives in Italy, lives in Rome. He was taking it simply out of curiosity. In those days, you didn't have to be a priest or a nun.
Right, so that was the first bit of Father Gary's interview. We'll go just to the rest of it shortly. Like, he's going to continue to kind of tell us.
Yeah.
We'll go deeper into it in a while. But as he said there, at the start, he has witnessed people speaking in languages they cannot know.
Yeah.
Unknown to them.
Yeah, and one of the things that
knowing things about people they shouldn't know.
Yeah. And this is it now, and not that I don't believe him, right?
Yeah.
But I don't believe a lot of the things that priests say anyway.
Okay.
So that'd be my thing.
Enough.
Yeah, right? So that'd be my thing.
I
just
know, yeah.
In their thoughts. But I suppose he's saying that, but once again, we're always asking for proof of stuff like that. And it happens in the church, and maybe there is no video of it in there. But he did say something along the lines of, which I found interesting. He says he has to ask the demon for its name.
Yeah.
And then they have to tell him because they kind of follow laws.
Yeah, that's unusual. And they
they have to. Do you know what I mean? Tell me your name. No, it's the law. Okay, my name is Satan.
You thought he sounded like Donald Trump.
I did think he sounded like Donald Trump. And maybe now that I've said that, maybe you won't be able to forget about it. But I did get a kind of a Donald Trump accent off him and kind of a way of speaking.
Yeah. No, look, I don't know how I feel about exorcism, but that's the thing I said at the start. How do they differentiate between someone who's maybe mentally ill? Or,
that is a big thing.
And then, but they said he has psychiatrists and stuff that they can tell. Look, this is.
But you see, he's saying, and they got doctors and things to do. But I can't. Can you imagine a doctor going, "No, that person's not mentally ill. He's just possessed," and you'd be going, "Huh?"
Yeah. We get kind of in the second half now. You kind of get more into the demonic possession and things. And
yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. We roll back into it again.
Yeah, we'll roll back into it and we'll check back after.
Cool.
Here's the second half of the interview.
And then there was another American there who's since died, unfortunately, a priest, who was working as sort of an apprentice at a church, a basilica in Rome. And he would come to class every week and tell Matt Ballio, all these really incredible stories. And so I said to Matt, I said to this priest Joannes, I said, I got to go find an exorcist to work under. So the long story short, I did. I was able to meet up with Father Carmen de Fipolis, the Capuchin. And so I went out there 3 days a week at St. Lawrence outside the Walls, which is one of the more famous basilicas, and for 3.5 months, 3 days a week for 3+ hours, would observe him and help him in the performance of exorcism. And that's how I learned the basic art of how to do this. And then over time, I asked a lot of questions, gone to workshops and things of that sort, and learned from a lot of other people through experience and observation, how to do this to the point where I'm at now. So honestly, Steve, I had no concept of what I was going to be facing. So when I first worked with Father Carmen and people were coming in and they were manifesting all over the place, I thought, holy crap, is this for real? I'd never seen this before. And after about a week or two, I thought, okay, this is for real because these people are all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But these were all the manifestations I just described to you about the aversion of the sacred and all the other things.
Yeah.
So,
And is possession common?
I would say when we talk about possession, we're talking about a very narrow concept because people can have what I call a demonic condition or a demonic attachment, but it's not necessarily a full possession. So the definition of a possession in general, without getting into and I'll get into the specifics of the differences, but a possession is a relationship. And so there's different levels of possession. There is what's called oppression, where the person is feeling a tremendous amount of depression due to the presence of a demon, but they're able to function. They might, we'd have people come in Rome, and even here, they can drive their car, pay their bills, raise a family, etc. But when they get around church or they come for a deliverance session, they go into a trance, and there are manifestations. Then you have what's called obsession, which probably the best way to describe it would be people who are hallucinating, people who have auditory hallucinations and visual hallucinations. And then a full possession would be a situation where a demon, or really not a demon, a system of demons, because there's never one. There's always a system. There's a hierarchy. And there could be hundreds or thousands or a handful, but there's a hierarchy. There's a whole system. And where they've taken full possession of the person's body, not the soul,
Yeah.
the body. Because they can't take the possession of the soul because it's made in the image and likeness of God.
Has anyone ever died from a full possession?
I think it's possible. I've never had that experience per se. But on the other hand, and demons, yes, the ultimate goal of the demon is to get the person to kill themselves.
Yeah.
But
they kind of win over that. They kind of win over that soul in a sense if they achieve that.
They can, but the mercy of God, which is embodied in the cross, the mercy of God is more powerful than sin.
Say the likes now of, I'm getting back into the kind of movie type things, but say there's a movie now, I don't know if you're aware of it, Annabelle. It's a series of movies about this doll that is possessed. My question is, can objects become possessed?
Yes.
Yeah. And have you ever witnessed it?
No, I've not seen the Annabelle movies. I've seen the Annabelle trailers.
Yeah, I haven't either, actually.
And I'm not really interested in. I've never seen an object possessed by a demon act out like the doll does. However, I've exorcised lots of houses.
Yeah.
And I've exorcised objects where sometimes people will go to flea markets or antique shops, and buy certain kinds of objects that look harmless, but could have a demonic attachment depending on what they were used for.
And that's probably why they were gotten rid of to a pawn shop or whatever.
And very often that is the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've exorcised objects, and I've exorcised lots of houses.
Yeah. And where people would have, what kind of things would people have reported to you, like noises in the house, things flying around? Well,
some of the answer is some of that. Lots of times people will actually see ghosts. Now, a ghost, is basically a disembodied human soul.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if people die in a house, there might be some reason that they stay attached. They may have been murdered. They could have committed suicide. Those are kind of common, where I've been called, and people will describe in great detail what looks like a hologram of a person in the home. You know what a hologram is?
Yeah,
And it's like a transparency. And these are people who are quite sober, quite normal.
Yeah.
And I'll go out and they'll tell me that I saw this woman, with white hair, very dark, but clearly made out her facial features. She stared at me, or I found her at the foot of my bed, or I found her walking down the hallway. That's not unusual. And actually it's becoming more and more prevalent, to be honest with you. I get that a lot now from people who will call me. And these are not people making up these stories. I mean, you call an exorcist, it's like I used to be a funeral director before I was a priest.
Yeah.
The same way as you call a funeral director, only when there's a real need.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things are like sometimes there'll be disturbances in homes, there'll be smells in homes, usually sulfur or basically feces.
Yeah.
And for no apparent reason. Or noises, or like I have one situation now where I've gone out and celebrated Mass in the home and exercised the house twice, and the family are still seeing things moving across the room.
Okay.
So
are exorcisms, like, they're not always successful, like? But
no, I mean, the answer is no. Even when I do an exorcism or of a deliverance of a person, a deliverance is a minor exorcism where you pray to God. There's not really a ritual, even though we have an order of prayer, but that's not the approved ritual of the church. But that's why they're called minor exorcisms. You pray to God. In a formal exorcism, you pray to God, then you pray against the demon directly. And only exorcists that are mandated by the bishop are permitted to actually perform the solemn rite, unless he decides to deputize someone else. But I'm the mandated exorcist, so I still have to get his permission, but I am the guy that does this.
Oh, yeah. What are the most bizarre things you have witnessed from a person who has been possessed, like while being present during an exorcism?
Well, somebody literally staggering, literally coming in for the performance of an exorcism, and as soon as they walk in the church, you're watching this go on. There's a force that is literally trying to push them out. It's like a wind, and they're coming in, and I've sometimes had the team try and help them come in, and they're being forced, literally pushed out the door. And then when we get them into the church, to the area in the church where we do the exorcism, and of course the church is locked and it's very private, where literally they will be on the ground and their hands will begin to take the form of a hoof, like
a horse's foot.
Like a horse.
Yeah.
Their hands will begin to take now you won't see a hoof, but you can actually see the distortion of their hands becoming hooves. And the demon will start speaking. I mean, I've seen that.
But it has to be a bit frightening to witness.
Well, I and I don't want to sound like I'm just being completely straight with you. There's a grace. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And I'll tell you why. I know that Christ is with us because we pray before every exorcism and every deliverance.
Yeah.
I know that Christ is with us, and honestly, I'm very respectful of personified evil, but I'm not afraid of it. This is becoming bigger in Ireland too, if you didn't know that. It really is, because in fact, I have to respond to a guy from Ireland now who wrote to me yesterday about some of the things in his own house and amongst his own family.
God.
And I know that religiosity in Ireland has taken a huge hit because of all the sexual abuse scandals.
Yeah.
And it just breaks my heart because we got the same problems here in this country.
Yeah.
I hope this was helpful, Steve.
Oh, it was. Thanks a million, Father Thomas.
If you're most welcome, and if you need any more help or you have any more questions, feel free to contact me.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you. You too. God bless.
So that was my full interview with Father Gary Thomas.
It was really interesting. It was good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh, yeah.
He's well able to talk.
He's well able to talk, as
most priests are, I suppose.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff to take from that. There's a lesson I've learned. If you're at a car boot sale, you're at a charity shop, a thrift store, whatever you might call it, be careful buying objects, because you don't know, it might be a possessed object that someone said, I'm getting rid of this, and then you'll buy it and your house will be possessed and all that stuff.
I don't know, why do people do that? Well, like, if I had something possessed, I'm going to leave that into the local charity shop there so someone else can have it, instead of just destroying it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the fear of destroying it.
Yeah, you often see that there's some older films, when someone goes into a strange kind of Chinese kind of shop and he picks up some sort of box and brings it home, and then there's a magical aspect to it.
Yeah.
It is. It's I think Gremlins.
Yeah.
Isn't there something in that? I think there's one of those. Anyway, look, I can't remember it, but anyway. So,
like, where do you stand in terms of demonic possession now? Are you a believer now?
well, I haven't. I'd love a video. I'd love a video of someone who's been like.
I'm sure
I know he
some
said
out there.
there at the end that he's actually speaking to a guy here in Ireland who's got some sort of issue. I'd love to like kind of maybe meet him and see what. If you even go to his house and see what's going on in there.
Yeah, I doubt we'd be able to, but I'd love to do that also.
I'd love to go in and see.
I'd be afraid. What if the demon left him and transferred into you?
Would you? That would make it a very interesting show, wouldn't it?
Very interesting next podcast. Hi, I'm Rat.
I'm Satan.
I'm Rob.
Oh yeah, would I not? You'd ask me my name and then I'd have to tell you.
Oh yeah, what's your real name?
Lucifer, son of the morning.
Jesus.
Yes,
that's scary.
Yeah.
The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah, but also the man with his hands turning into like hooves.
Yeah.
In like
Look at my hooves. Do you remember that?
What's that in? That's
that. Freddie got fingers.
Freddie got fingers.
Look at my hooves.
Tom Green. Yeah.
Look at my hooves. I doubt he was saying that. But look, I still don't know where I stand on it. I believe him. I believe that people have I believe about people. Speaking in foreign tongues, no one thinks they couldn't know. Like, do you know what I mean? If I said something to you about like I don't know something only I was speaking, there's something in me that kind of believes in a part of it. Like maybe it isn't. I don't know. Like if we're looking into paranormal, we're looking into aliens, we're looking at everything. Like a lot of the stuff we've covered. Like part of me I still don't think everyone is a liar. You know what I mean?
But yet again, I give as much merit to that priest as I do to the guy in our first episode with the Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I believe them just the same.
Okay. That's fine, yeah, but
whether or not that's any belief or no belief.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to believe in, like, a demon inside someone, then I might as well believe in a Bigfoot as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, one only becomes less nonsensical sounding because we're raised in a society where you're kind of, like, told that the church is a real thing. You don't get raised by the church of the Bigfoots, because if you did, then you think that the Bigfoots were, you know what I mean? That's normal, whereas that seems mad. But you go into a place on a Sunday and they tell you all these stories about, like, a man in a boat and he took all the animals in the world and had them there, you know, Noah. All these things. And they just become, oh, that's a normal story. And, like, Adam and Eve in a garden with a talking snake. That's fine.
Yeah, but some of this
But
stuff
a Bigfoot then is ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. But actually, one of our listeners sent a picture about why the reason Bigfoot sightings have declined, and it shows a Bigfoot walking in Central Park and a few people nearby on a bench, but they're on their phones.
Well, he just walks right by them. They didn't even lift their heads, like he just walks straight through.
Yeah, but it was a great picture. It says, "This is why we don't see Bigfoot anymore."
Get your head out of your phone.
This is why. Get your head out of your phone. You might see Bigfoot.
I actually did see it, and I was going to. There was a video there recently. I know it's a separate subject. Yeah, big. Did you see it? No. Right. Well, I'll send you.
Recent. Okay.
Yeah, like it's a poor enough video. But sure, we'll stick it up on the Instagram.
Porno video.
a poor enough video. If it was a porno video, that'd be
I definitely
back to the exorcism.
Back to exorcism, but on Bigfoot and our other top, like there's so much more to discuss. Down the line, we'll have to do part 2s sometime. But exorcism,
go squatching.
Look, squatching, yeah. Exorcism. Look, I don't know where I stand. Look, check out the movie The Rite, based on Father Gary's story. Loosely.
But like, yeah, so basically, like, there's a demon in there and he's got to try, and he said it doesn't always work the first time. Didn't he? He said you kind of sometimes takes a few sessions.
Yeah, but then like, I suppose the whole thing as well about it, like someone, I didn't kind of buy that whole thing about someone being depressed and it could actually be demonic possession. You know, I think that person just has depression.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You know what I mean?
Depressed, and then
that,
even you know when some people
feel
like,
sick in the church.
Like if I went into a church, I'd probably
14 pints last night, and 2 Jaeger bombs.
Or someone who's had some clerical abuse in the past.
Yeah.
If they go in there and they might have, you know, as a child, and then every time they go into a church, they might feel sick.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, you know what I mean? No, it's not. No, that's just a demon.
Yeah,
that's just a demon. Whereas, like, actually, no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that element I don't believe. But then, like, he talks about the different types of possession and
did the Pope really then decide, like, to?
No, sorry. The Pope.
The Pope literally said, "Let's like." Get a load of exorcists going on here.
Yeah,
we need them.
They started a class, like obviously that's where he went and trained in it.
But who teaches that class? Who's the head?
I have no idea.
I know, this isn't a bit mad. Like you walk in,
have this image of this kind of sorceress coming in.
Right, guys, take out fathers.
I am Gandalf.
I know, but isn't he like? I just think it's strange that, you know, like he had to go to Rome to do it.
He had to go to Rome, yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah. Where else would you go?
I know it's either Rome or you can do it in
online.
Belmullet.
You can do it online as well.
Or Belmullet. Yeah, they're the two places. Belmullet in the west of Ireland and Rome that
Yeah.
you can train as an exorcist.
It's I just think you go into the classroom, you sit down, and like, how do you even start? Right, guys, what's the curriculum for that? Where you start kind of like
Okay, lesson 1.
how to spot a person who's possessed, right? And then
Well,
you're progressing like on the last kind of day. You're doing like role play where you've actually getting possessed people in, and you've got to be driving them out. And if you can do that, then you get your cert.
The practical element of it, like yeah.
He did say that he had to go and work with some guy for a while, didn't he?
Yeah,
And
that's who
he learned to trade-
Anthony Hopkins plays in the
like an
movie.
apprentice. He was like an apprentice.
My young apprentice.
Yeah.
Look, I still don't know. I don't
And
know.
another thing, now I'm not big on all the facts of religion.
Jesus, leave me alone.
I know this is. He also says "holy crap" in the interview.
Did he?
Yeah, he said "holy crap." I didn't think they were allowed to
Oh.
say things like that, unless he's talking about the poo of Jesus, which is then probably "holy crap." But he did say "holy crap" in the interview.
Okay.
But yeah, so he said that sometimes that the demons are like
Demons.
other gods and stuff like that, didn't he? From other religions.
Yeah, pagan religions.
But I thought like part of the whole Catholic Church thing was like one of the I think the commandments, like the first one is "I am your God, there is no other gods."
Thou shalt not worship other gods.
There is no,
before
but
me.
he's kind of saying that there's other gods then, like, isn't it? Or he's even acknowledging that other religion. Like if he's saying like they're demons from other religions, you're like, what? That's like in like
acknowledging there's more than one type.
other religions going on, and it's like
Yeah.
like a crossover. Like if you ever watch like X-Men and they bring like someone
Spider-Man in.
in. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he's from a different franchise. Yeah, but he's in on this as well. Like
Yeah. I get. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's
He's definitely a priest, is he?
Yeah, he is a priest. Definitely a priest. We were running out for source material. So I got my uncle to put
I wonder if you Google him, because you get a picture of him. I'd like to see.
Oh,
him.
you can. I can show you a picture.
Yeah, I googled The Exorcist just while we were talking there.
Were you not listening
the film, and I don't recognize any of the actors in it.
Yeah, well, sure, it's the 70s. Like it is.
Yeah, I thought there might have been someone that was kind of wasn't that famous then, but it's famous now. But maybe I'm wrong. But I thought there'd be some familiar face.
Your one, Blair, the Samantha Blair. I think is that her name, that plays the girl. The girl. What the hell was the girl's name in that movie? The Exorcist.
There was another one then, The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Yeah,
Isn't
that was
a
very
new one?
popular. That is a freaky enough movie.
So like I got IMDb here, and they're saying that
IMDb.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
International Movie Database. Yeah,
Yeah.
not BD. Otherwise, that's something
Yeah.
different altogether. So Ellen Burstyn, Max von Snowden. These are all the people here, and I don't recognize any of them.
I just there's Father Gary Thomas and Anthony Hopkins here in the photograph.
Show me
Here.
them
We
there.
could share that on our social media.
Oh yeah, he's not what I thought he'd look like.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
thought he looked like Donald Trump.
I didn't know. He does sound a bit like him. Yeah. Well, I think that's all we got to talk about in exorcism.
That's
is it?
all we got to talk about. And just like
If you have any information on exorcism, if you've ever some people might have some.
if you've a third cousin who has been possessed or anything like that,
Or if you even have any stories or anything you'd like to share with us, because sometimes we do get strange messages from people.
and we love that. If anyone has a good story, get on to us.
And yeah, because we do try our best. We've had some people contacting
We
us.
do try our best.
We do try our best to get back to you. It might be a couple of days or whatever. We will message you back.
Yeah.
So with people in the past have messaged us, and it's lovely to hear from people.
It's just of the millions of listeners,
Yeah,
it
it's
can
hard.
be so
It's
hard.
hard,
It
guys,
can
you
be
know.
hard. Yeah, look, I enjoyed that episode. I think it's. Papa was drinking. He was drinking water there, and he just felt. What is so funny about that?
Because you all said that I enjoyed this episode, but it's not really for your enjoyment, is it?
Yeah, but I like.
I enjoyed my interview with my guy.
No. But I said I just enjoyed chatting about it. Do you know what I mean? I've enjoyed
do, yeah.
exploring
Yeah.
the world of
I've also
exorcism.
enjoyed it, Stephen.
Okay.
And hopefully you,
Jesus,
the listener.
You know what's going to happen now? The next time we meet up, I'm going to be self-conscious about saying I recorded. And why should I have to censor myself for you?
You shouldn't at all.
Do you know what I mean?
Never do. No.
I've had enough. Next week,
Don't
it'll be just
start
like,
stand up for yourself now.
Robin Richards podcast. I'll be just gone next week.
And me and Father Gary will have our own podcast, yeah.
Yeah. Father Gary Thomas. So look, that does conclude this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening. You, the listener, make this possible. I know we
You're
really
going to
do.
get Mick fired by doing these type of
Oh,
voices.
sorry. No, Mick, I'd never lose Mick. He's like, and he's an extension of ourselves.
He
We're
is, yeah.
going on now on a tangent.
Tangent. Right, look, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And we'll chat to you next Wednesday.
I can't wait for next week's one.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Rob Rat Podcast. Be sure to check out our social media for updates on the next episode. And if you liked what you heard, then let us know by hitting the subscribe button, sending us a message, and telling a friend, because that's how the podcast grows. Thanks for listening.